I've recorded every record pretty much with an Ernie Ball. It's all over the Creed records, it's all over the Alter Bridge records. I didn't start playing them live until, I believe it was Fortress Tour. There was something about the instrument that felt very natural to me, especially when I was kind of sitting in the pocket between the bass cabinets and the bass drum. When I would sit there in that section of the stage, and there's so much resonation happening that it almost felt like the bass guitar was playing itself. The notes would resonate, and it was effortless. And once that I felt that, I knew that there was a connection with myself and with the instrument. And from there's a marriage, a relationship. It's taken a very long time to find the right bass to sit in between two very uniquely and drastically different but skilled guitar players. You know, with the Ernie Ball strings and the bass, it sits in just the right frequency to cut through that wall of guitars just how a bassist likes it. You know, I didn't start playing a 5-string bass until Alter Bridge. You know, it's just like, hey man, why don't you ever played a 5-string? I think a lower note would really be cool here. It would kind of fill the room, you know. And I'm like, hey, you know, that's a good idea. And started playing a 5-string. When I started playing the Ernie Ball 5-string, I felt like the diameter of the neck was perfect shape for my hand, you know. So the Ernie Ball 5-string bass just lent itself really well to, and I've grown to really love the maple necks. But then there's some songs that call more for a darker wood, you know, so you kind of choose your battles, I guess. Each bass is different. If there's any one most important thing for me when I'm on the road, it's to have a healthy routine that works for me. Oxygen therapy. Being able to get out and experience the world with clarity has brought about an immense amount of joy and everlasting memories with not only with my band and crew and everyone else, but my family, of course. So, you know, it's nice to have them out on the road and be able to get out and experience all of the things that being on tour can bring. Replacing those bad habits with ones that are good for the mind and the body, being in the right headspace, having clarity, eating right, exercising, all of these things are top priority for me when it comes to performing and generally being present in everything that life can throw at you. Getting out and breathing the air and making your body do what it's supposed to do, and it's supposed to move. You're supposed to get your heart rate up. You're supposed to exercise. Getting that oxygen to your brain is important. And you know, if you're having a rough day, if it's raining outside, if it's, you know, if you're feeling dreary, I never had a day where I exercised, where I came back after I was done and said, you know what, why did I do that? I didn't need to exercise today. It's always, man, I feel better, you know? And it clears your mind. And it prepares you for the next thing that you have to do in life. And if I get up early and I can do that, then my whole day has changed. Exercise works for me. It hurts, but it works. And when I hit that stage, I know I'm good to go. Nearly 8 years ago, I made a decision in my life to get sober. You know, after many years of struggling with alcohol and what have you, you know, there comes a time when it just becomes too much. It becomes excessive. It interrupts your normal life. It interrupts your natural way of thinking responsibly and affects you in so many different ways. In a negative way. You know, I was a guy that my life was changed overnight, essentially, in my early 20s, and that's a lot for someone to handle. I didn't know that at the time, but looking back on it now, it was a lot, you know, and going from a normal 9-to-5 job after college to getting a record deal and having 7 straight number ones at rock radio, your life has drastically changed. And there was a time, I think it was at the end of the Full Circle run, I was going through a bad point in my life, and it was towards the end of my days of using and drinking. And I was going through a divorce. I was living in Costa Rica, of all places. I had met my now wife, Mel, and we were pregnant. And I was preparing, or trying to prepare, to go out on a tour with Mark in Tremonti, because I was the then bass player in Tremonti. And at that point, I was going through so much that I had made a decision that I needed some help. And I talked with Flip in a dressing room in New York, and the conversation that we had, where I told him, I don't know what I'm going to do. I need to stop what I'm doing. And he looked at me, and again, it was like a light bulb had gone off after he said this to me. He said, I don't know what it is, but there's some sort of conviction in your voice that's different. I left that tour and went back to Wichita, where Mel was, and told her the whole thing. And she was just like, I knew that you drank a lot, but I didn't realize that it was to this extent, or that you felt this way. And she, she's like, just do what you gotta do. And she said, I don't want to bring this child into an alcoholic parent. And it changed everything. I think having children, you're bringing a life into the world, and you want to be there for them. Went back to Wichita and got into a day treatment program, and it was the best decision that I ever made in my life, was to get sober, because now I have, life is worth living. It's a full-time job when you're feeling like shit all the time, and you're hungover, and and you're out partying, and then you're with people you don't know all of a sudden, and then you might black out. I don't know. Who knows what could happen? And that was kind of my life for many years. And it's always there, for sure. Being in a rock band and being out here traveling the world, it's like a hot stove. It's just, you can't touch it. It's you immediately retract from it. I'm better at what I do every day because of my sobriety. I'm the kind of guy that if a little of something's going to make you feel good, then a lot of it must make you feel great. I just love to play music. I never thought that I would be touring the world, performing. Very fortunate to be in the position I am on stage playing music. Never take it for granted. To be able to reach that amount of people, and for the songs to resonate with them, and for them to give it back to you every night, and to show you what it means to them. You can see it on their faces from the stage. I remember last night distinctly, looking straight in the eyes of this girl. We were playing the song Ghost, and she was singing every word, and she was literally, her mascara was just all running down her face, and I looked at her, I smiled, and she just was just in awe. She was just like, yeah, and I mean, really, we're 4 guys making music, and it's just, wow. It's very meaningful, very meaningful. Each performance, each night is so powerful because of what they give you, because of the sounds on stage, because of the way the bass tone is, because the guitar solo is slightly different, and you're bending a note a certain way, and it just makes you feel it's music. It's an art form. Leading up to performing, there's such a vast spectrum of emotions that go into that. For me especially, you know, I mean, everybody probably can handle it differently. It usually comes around 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, right after dinner. That's when I usually try to find time where I can be by myself, where I have no distractions, where I can think about each song. You know, I try to find my center. It's a lot of mental preparation, I think, for me. Some days it's, there might be a little bit more, some days it might be a little bit less. There's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of jubilation, there's butterflies, I guess is the easiest way to term it, you know, because I still get nervous before shows. And I need that separation to kind of get my center and mentally prepare myself for performing. After I have time to sit and get my center, I kind of make my way back to the dressing room, and that's when I'll start to hear and feel the crowd, you know, filing in, and kind of just get the vibe of the venue, you know, when it's filling up, and make my way back to the dressing room and start to get dressed. And I don't know, there's something about when you're at that stage of getting prepared for the show, then you pick up the bass guitar and run through a few songs, run through a few exercises, and you know, at that point, you've done all you can do. You've been through the songs, you've been through the preparing, you know, you've been through the writing, you've been through the recording, you've been through everything, and now it's time to, you know, now it's time to perform. And at that point, you've prepared your whole life essentially for that moment. Man, it's so much fun. I mean, I can't believe I get to do this for a living. And now, it's time to take that walk. Every emotion comes at you, then something indescribable happens. This thing, it just comes over you. And the space between the band and the audience collide. And what you give is what you get back. It's the eighth wonder of the world, and you know what? It's magical. There is